For much of modern history, there has been a comforting belief that war is fought by adults, that soldiers are men and women who choose, or are at least legally required, to bear arms on behalf of their state. This belief has never been true. In reality, children have been present in wars for as long as wars have existed. What has changed over time is not their participation, but how societies explain it, justify it, or choose not to see it at all. When most people think of child soldiers, they imagine a recent phenomenon associated with civil wars in Africa or Asia in the late 20th century. While those conflicts did involve the widespread use of children, they were neither the beginning nor the exception. They were part of a long and largely ignored pattern. In early modern Europe, armies regularly included boys as young as 8 or 9. They served as drummers, messengers, powder carriers, and servants to officers. Officially, they were not combatants. In practice, they marched, starved, froze, and died alongside adult soldiers. During the 30 Years' War in the 17th century, entire armies were followed by camps of women and children, many of whom had no life outside war. For boys growing up in these conditions, military service was not a choice. It was inheritance. By the 18th and 19th centuries, professional armies became more formalized, but children did not disappear. Navies across Europe relied heavily on boys. The British Royal Navy routinely recruited children between the ages of 10 and 13.
Flinke Hollandse jongens, wien de zee in het bloed zit, worden hier opgeleid. De zindelijkheid wordt aan een strenge controle onderworpen.
Some volunteered, many were pressed into service, and others were sent by families who could no longer feed them. Life aboard ship was brutal. Beatings were common, discipline was harsh, and death from disease or accident was frequent. These boys were considered expendable, easily replaced by the next shipment from shore. Even in wars often remembered as more civilized, children were present. During the Napoleonic Wars, teenage drummers and standard bearers marched into battle. In the American Civil War, thousands of boys under the age of 18 fought on both sides. Some lied about their age. Others did not need to. Records show soldiers as young as 12 enlisted openly, particularly in the early years of the war. Many served as musicians or orderlies. Many others carried rifles. The 20th century did not end the practice. It industrialized it. During the First World War, underage enlistment was widespread. In Britain alone, it is estimated that over 250,000 boys under the age of 18 served in uniform. Recruitment officers often ignored obvious signs of youth. Birth certificates were rarely checked. Patriotism, social pressure, and economic desperation pushed children into the ranks. Many never returned. In the Second World War, the use of children reached new extremes. As Germany's military situation deteriorated in the final years of the war, boys from the Hitler Youth were armed and sent into combat. Some were as young as 12. They were given anti-tank weapons and told to stop advancing Allied armor. Many died within hours. In Japan, teenage boys were trained for suicidal defense of the home islands, while younger children were drilled to resist invasion with bamboo spears. These were not symbolic gestures. They were preparations for mass death. Elsewhere, children were used differently, but no less deliberately. In the Soviet Union, teenagers fought as partisans and regular units. In China, both nationalist and communist forces relied on child fighters, porters, and messengers. Across occupied Europe, children smuggled weapons, gathered intelligence, and were executed when caught. After 1945, the world claimed it had learned its lesson. New international laws were written. The idea of childhood as a protected stage of life gained ground, at least on paper. And yet, child soldiers did not disappear. They became less visible to the societies most capable of stopping their use. During the Cold War, proxy wars across Africa, Asia, and Latin America created ideal conditions for the exploitation of children. Weak states, prolonged conflicts, and abundant small arms made children easy to recruit and hard to protect. In many cases, they were not recruited at all. They were abducted. In conflicts such as those in Uganda, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and later parts of the Democratic Republic of Congo, children were taken from their villages, forced to watch or commit acts of violence, and then given weapons. This process was deliberate. By destroying a child's connection to civilian life, armed groups ensured obedience. Drugs were often used. So was terror. Once a child had crossed certain lines, returning home became almost impossible. Girls were used as well, though their roles were often ignored or misrepresented. Many were forced into combat. Many more were subjected to systematic sexual violence, while also being expected to fight, cook, carry supplies, and raise children within armed groups. When wars ended, these girls were often excluded from demobilization programs and left to disappear quietly. It is important to understand that the use of child soldiers is not the result of cultural backwardness or chaos alone. It is a strategy. Children are easier to control, cheaper to maintain, and more psychologically malleable than adults. Commanders who use them know this. Governments that tolerate it know this as well. The international response has been inconsistent at best. While treaties exist and condemnations are issued, enforcement is rare. Warlords responsible for recruiting children have been welcomed into peace negotiations. Some have gone on to hold political office. Others have never been charged. In many cases, stability was deemed more important than justice. Today, despite decades of awareness, tens of thousands of children are still involved in armed conflict worldwide. Some carry rifles. Others serve as spies, porters, or human shields. Many have known nothing else. When the fighting ends, they are expected to return to a world that often has no place for them. The history of child soldiers is not hidden because it is unknown. It is hidden because it is inconvenient. It challenges comforting narratives about progress, morality, and the rules of war. What remains most disturbing is not that this has happened in the past. It is that it continues to happen, often in plain sight, and that the mechanisms which allow it to continue remain largely intact. If you found this video informative and would like to learn more about overlooked and difficult chapters of history, please consider subscribing to the channel.